Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode, episode number 62 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the penultimate round of Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Mexican Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A pretty crucial race for the championship, last episode proved to be. And going into this one then, again, you can see a bit of a plateau from all the cars on the grid as all of us save resource points. And the big talking point going to this episode then is, on top of Brazil already not being a great track for me personally, I've always struggled to completely match the AI around Sao Paulo, especially through turns 1 and 2. I always get a horrendous exit. We need to make some changes on our engine. Our internal combustion engine and the MGUK are quite worn, especially the MGUK, both components over 65%, and that definitely is going to affect the power we get of ERS. And all race long, our engineer was telling us anyway in Mexico that we had some issues. And then the internal combustion engine as well, all three pretty worn, not as bad as MGUK, but worn enough where you are going to notice a power difference in a straight line. And so for the sake of the championship, in terms of, I know at Abu Dhabi we have a better chance to match Alonso potentially, and I need all the power and I need the car performing at the maximum there. I'm going to take the hit at Brazil. I know already I might be on the back foot anyway in qualifying at Brazil, so why not just take the hit here rather than Abu Dhabi all race long with a power deficit, and also this race with a power deficit. Right now, by changing these components, I get a fresh slate essentially for not only this race but next race. So let's head into Saturday, although it might be quite a short one for us.
Welcome to qualifying here in Interlagos as the cars are readying up for what's likely to be a very important session. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximising top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on into the corners and max out down the straights?
The teams will have arrived with all manner of parts designed to capitalise on the long straights. The cars will be that much harder to drive in the corners, but everyone will be in the same boat.
So like I said, it might be a very short Saturday because it's very overcast here, and we're going to be hit with this grid penalty, as you can see on the screen right there. A 20-place grid penalty, obviously 10 places for each component we changed. That was over the FI mandated limit of 3 internal combustion engines and 2 MGUK components. So we are going to, even if we start on pole position, we are going to, even if we get pole position, we're going to be starting in P20. So really there's no point even trying to qualify. So here in Q1, in overcast conditions, I just thought I'd go out and basically see how the track felt, see how the car felt, obviously, and it felt pretty damn good actually. And I could almost, in a way, sense the kind of fresher engine parts in terms of the car was, the drivability was a bit more improved in a way through some of the corners, and the car definitely stuck through the entirety of Sector 2, the setup working well, and the McLaren car itself working a little bit better, I feel, than the Haas did in Season 2. So looking forward to this, and I think from last place on the grid, it's not, the world's not over. I think we can get some pretty high points. It's just about choosing the right strategy and hopefully not getting caught up in too much traffic. But we crossed the line then after essentially a bit of practice basically on low fuel running there. Alonso tops the timesheet in Q1, but of course now I won't get a chance to see what happens in Q2 or Q3. We'll find out where Alonso places on the grid on the starting grid animation when we go to the race. So there we are. Then we managed to outqualify the 2 Williams cars. The 2 Mercedes, actually quite interesting enough, were out of Q1, so the Mercs really horrendous around Sao Paulo, but there is that 20-place grid penalty you can see. So let's just go into Sunday then. I know it's a tough task from last place on the grid. Alonso is probably going to be near the front end, but we did a great job at Mexico, and you guys know my fighting spirit. We're not going to give up, and here today, this weekend, we've been set this challenge, and we're going to take it by the scruff of the neck and try and do the best job we can and set up hopefully ourselves for Abu Dhabi next episode. So let's go to Sunday and see how we do.
As surely as the sun rises in the morning, the Brazilian Grand Prix packs out the grandstands and creates incredible drama. Title deciders, heartbreak, triumph and home glory. All these and more can be found in abundance here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. 2 very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junção into one of the 2 DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the engineer. There's a real chance they could win the title today. So how do you think they'll handle the pressure?
I think as long as they keep their mind on the task and not its historical significance, they'll be just fine. This is a race just like any other. You do the best you can and accept that sometimes things are going to happen outside of your control. If they can approach today with that attitude, the pressure shouldn't be a problem.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, and it's Kevin Magnussen in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ocon, Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, and Grosjean, Vettel, Gasly, Hülkenberg, and Max Verstappen. Leclerc, Ericsson, Valtteri Bottas, and Hamilton, Sirotkin, Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo. They've taken a grid penalty, and Carlos Sainz, Hartley, and the engineer. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are in a rather lonely P20, but Fernando Alonso, our teammate and main and only championship rival, starts in P5 then. So we've been giving a blessing in Q3, the two Force Indias, Raikkonen's Ferrari, and my old teammate Kevin Magnussen Haas ahead of Alonso. So that makes our life a little bit more calm, I guess, because it's going to mean Alonso will have to do some overtaking. I have no doubt he will make those overtakes probably to try and get towards a podium minimum, but it does put me in a little bit of an easier spot maybe, that I don't need to rush as much maybe to get up the order and maybe not make any rash decisions that might break off a little bit of my car. But in terms of decisions of the strategy today, we're going to go for a one-stop, soft to the medium tire. Historically, we've always done the two-stop here at Brazil, but this is one of those times where we need to play this very tactically, and although it might be difficult on those mediums when we get to them, and also at the start here against super softs, the soft tires may not be very quick. We need to play the long game, be patient, and not get frustrated if we can't overtake certain cars straight away, because it will come back to us and pay dividends. Even though technically on timing it's only a 3-second faster strategy, I think because of the dirty air and traffic annoyance in Sector 2 here, we'll gain a lot of time by doing one less stop. So that's the way it's going to be. Obviously going to use and abuse the fuel, and obviously now that we've got a near enough fresher engine with a whole new internal combustion engine and Energy UK, we're going to really abuse the ERS and full engine power to its max to try and help us get up the order and get into some good points paying positions once again. But let's just get into this then from last place on the grid at the Brazilian Grand Prix, the second last race of this season to set up this season finale next episode. And we go to 5 red lights for 36 laps around Sao Paulo this afternoon as the lights are out and we are underway, and Hartley gets a good getaway. We really do not. And so missing those super softs there, it just doesn't bite in. But into turn 1, we're going to try and dive down the inside of 2 cars if we can of the Renault and Toro Rosso. But Hartley squeezes us towards the grass and the curbing there. Hartley really aggressive, overly aggressive, to be honest, in turn 1. We squeeze out Carlos Sainz then, so he's last place now. We're up into P19, but it should have been P18. But Hartley very aggressive then, and so now we have to try and catch back up. So a very slow start then to this Grand Prix. I wanted to at least get up those 2 positions into turn 1 and then have a run at the Williams cars, but no, alas, Hartley stops that in its tracks, and now we're kind of faced with trying to get past him in Sector 2, but look how much of an annoyance this is going to be. It's just so difficult to pass in Sector 2 around Brazil, because every corner invites you to make a pass, just like this. I tried to make a move on the outside to the next inside of the next left-hander as you go down the hill on Stroll, but it just doesn't work out sometimes, because the cars can easily squeeze you out, and the nature of the momentum of the racing line sometimes moves you left to right of the circuit, and it just doesn't work out. But here on the outside then of what is usually a near flat-out corner in qualifying, we're trying to make the pass stick on Brendan Hartley, finally, the man who retired at the end of last episode and kind of helped us out in a way with the safety car, pushing Alonso down the order. We're finally up into P17 then, but that took a lot longer than I wanted, and that's all thanks to this. I mean, look how aggressive Hartley is. He's literally turning into me, pushing me off circuit into the grass. I thought that was very strange, and of course it had to happen at a race where I'm last place and I desperately need to get up the order. It just had to happen then. Every other race, the AI don't squeeze me like that into turn 1, of course. But anyway, we move on to lap number 2, and you can see Ricciardo has overtaken Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes car's very slow indeed, and we get up right behind the Finn. You can see he's quite slow mid-apex there, but again, Sector 2 is going to be so difficult to pass now, even on this slow Mercedes car. I'm trying to have a look around the outside, doesn't work out. Maybe to the inside, we can make a little dive, just doesn't work there. Have to stick behind him again. I have a little pop around the outside, just doesn't work. And so I'm literally moving left to right of Valtteri Bottas, trying to suss out where or not I'm going to make this move. And so in the end, as we go through the next right-hander to the left, I'm thinking maybe we get a good enough run through this left-hander. The Mercedes doesn't have the grip and the downforce here. Can we make a move into the second last corner here? Bottas really slow, and he's literally parked at the apex there. He's gone purposely slow into the apex. He's not even taking the proper racing line there, and he slows me down by a good second, that is, to Daniel Ricciardo up ahead. And so finally we have to get past him up the hill. The same with Brendan Hartley. I mean, look how slow that Merc is, but that is so annoying. We literally lost a full second to Ricciardo there, and now Ricciardo is making a pass on Sergei Sorokin. So such a frustrating time there, and so you can see the challenge really is going to be quite a tough one here in Brazil. It is one of the worst circuits I think I can think of trying to go last, the question mark here. But at the moment it's still a 1-2 then for the Force Indies. Actually, it was obviously Magnussen in second place on the grid, but Magnussen's fallen behind, so a good 1-2 for Force India, and Magnussen P3, Alonso P4, so he's already managed to get past his former Ferrari teammate Kimi Raikkonen. So he's only got 3 cars to pass for a race victory, but it looks like the Force Indies, to my benefit, are looking pretty damn fast here. But now we make a move on the rush in, up the hill, onto the main straight, across the white line apparently, enough so that the FIA want to take a warning with me, almost like a Felipe Massa kind of incident there. Unacceptable, FIA, unacceptable, as we go through the SNRS on lap 4. And now we've got Hamilton up ahead, who's just been overtaken by Dan Ricciardo. So Ricciardo and myself are 2 cars definitely trying to make our way through. And a car also making his way through might be Brendan Hartley as he dives down the inside of me. And the Toro Rosso looking pretty good and looking for a fight here in the beginning stage of the Grand Prix. So Hartley already squeezed me off, or nearly squeezed me off in turn 1. And now he's trying to re-overtake me and ruin the party of me using the clean air there. But we get past him, thankfully. And we'll get on the back of Lewis Hamilton in no time then. But just like with Valtteri Bottas, we might be held up into the second last corner as he's going to be slow once again. He takes that very awkward racing line just like Bottas did. Like they almost open up the corner and kind of invite you to make a dive down the inside, but then they shut the door in the last minute and they just go so slow, like stupidly slow, to the point where you're just being dangerous here at that point in the circuit where you take usually so much more speed even in race conditions. And so we eventually make the pass, and okay, Dan Ricciardo is off there. He's had a bit of an issue. I don't know if he's tangled with the Sauber ahead of him, so it looks like both me and Ricciardo trying to make our way through the grid order are both facing some challenges of our own there. And so Ricciardo opens himself up to now attack from myself. He's going a little bit slow. Maybe he's got some damage potentially as he goes very slow on the exit of the corner. We switch back to the inside line after initially looking around the outside there, and we make a nice little move up into P13. So at this stage of the Grand Prix then, Alonso is in P4, remember, and I'm P13. So I've got 0 points still in this race. Alonso will obviously for P4 have 12 at this stage there, but I am going to guess at some point he will make moves up into the podium spot. But this is a replay then of what happened to Ricciardo. He actually overtook the Sauber fair and square. Just a bad lock-up there from Ricciardo. So very odd why he was so slow then afterwards. Maybe he was just so flustered. But at this stage of the race now, it's still a 1-2 for Force India. But Alonso there, you can see, is up into third place. So we missed the overtake somewhere, but it's happened. And so Alonso is already up into P3. So that's 15 points then. Remember, going into this race, Alonso was 21 points behind me after the good work we did at the Mexican Grand Prix. So 21 points going into this. At the moment, it's 15 going out. So minus 15 going out for Alonso's in Alonso's favour. So we have to keep on the action and keep up. But to be fair, as we look on through the race order and all these cars, we go down from the top end, you can see now I'm coming up to the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg and the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson. We're not too far off now, the top 10. So soon enough, we will be in the points paying positions, and then I'll feel a bit more comfortable about the situation we're in. And eventually, as we climb up the hill now, going towards lap number 8, then we're going to catch up to Ericsson, who's just been overtaken by Hülkenberg on the previous lap. We open DRS there, move to the right after initially thinking about going to the left-hand side, and we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix whilst doing it. So you can clearly see now in some more clean air whilst I was catching those guys, the car clearly has some good pace. So what could have been, I definitely could have maybe been challenging for the top spots in qualifying yesterday on Saturday, and that's why I was a little bit surprised that Alonso was down in P5. But of course, remember, because I didn't make it to Q2 and Q3, the game probably did that thing where it kind of simulates the session without the kind of upgrade to the cars. But now it's shame for Marcus Ericsson. He's out of the Grand Prix then with a retirement with an engine failure we saw there on the second last corner. So quite a shame there, because both Saubers were actually looking good for maybe some last points paying positions, and Leclerc, actually, to be fair, his teammate is still looking probably good for a points paying position. He's on the soft tires, I believe, as well, so I think he's also maybe trying a one stop. I think he's on super softs, but he might be trying a one stop, and if he's clever about it, he probably should do, to try and get some points there, because if the Sauber team score literally like 2 points, I think they overtake Mercedes in the constructors. But whilst we talk about the Sauber v Mercedes fight, I'm trying to fight the Renault of Hülkenberg here. We dispatch of his teammate obviously on lap 1, turn 1. Can we try and now get him easily on the outside again with DRS there. The car working a treat in a straight line at the moment with the ERS deploying at the full maximum range, of course, with the fresh MGUK and the internal combustion engine also ticking over nicely. And so on lap 10, we're up into P7 now, as I think a couple of people made pit stops here. And as we close up to Leclerc, we're up into P4. So I think you can safely say that pretty much most of the top guys now have made their first pit stop in this Grand Prix. And the only guys left are all the people trying maybe potential one stops like Leclerc, myself, Ricciardo, Verstappen as well, as Gasly now sets the pass after the Grand Prix. And as he does that, we try and find a way around the outside. Then the youngster in the Sauber, but he gives us a really good fight. So to my surprise, even shoves me off a little bit off the circuit there on the left-hander there as we go towards the hill of Sector 2. But eventually we do keep it on the inside there, keep our wits about it, and we're up into P3 now, only behind Max Verstappen and I think one other car, a Ferrari, that's yet to make a pit stop. So it will eventually be Verstappen in the lead and myself in second, both of us on soft tyres, clearly trying a one-stop here this afternoon. Whilst that's our situation, Alonso and the two Force Indias have already made their first of 2 pit stops there, and so Alonso on super soft tyres chasing after the first Force India of Esteban Ocon. Then on the outside, sparks away brilliantly, but he makes the move, and so that will be effectively him up into net P2, although on the road I think it's just maybe in the lower bottom 10 at the moment, because I think there's a fair few cars, I think about 6 of us trying a one-stop here in this race. But ahead of him there is Perez, at least a straight ahead of Alonso, so he's still got some work to do if he wants that race victory, but he's looking very good for at least minimum 18 points now in this race. So we have to really hope and pray that this one stop is going to work out, and that the good work we've done in fresh air here and the work we will do on fresh air on mediums and not being stuck in traffic on a 2-stop will work out, and hopefully we can get into some good points to try and counter those 18, because like I said, remember 21 points we come into this one, so minus 18 but then plus on whatever we have. So if we can get at least, you know, a good 4, 6, 8 points, that would be great to just add on to that and reduce that gap that Alonso is going to, kind of break down basically going into the next one, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the grand finale of this season 3 battle, this season-long battle between us two McLarens. But as we come in the pit lane then, we're in P14 behind Leclerc, so Leclerc actually undercut us then in that strategy, so fair play. But we're going to come at a rate of knots now, lap 16 on to 17, then DRS open for both of us because he gets it off Hulkenberg, who's now making a pass on Pierre Gasly then. So Hulkenberg doing really well also for himself in this race, but we're going to try and overtake Leclerc. It didn't work out in turns 1 and 2, as I said, really poor in the center S. But now onto the end of sector 1, big dive on the left hand side there, really need to make that one stick, and so we're up into P11 now, and we'll chase after Pierre Gasly by the end of that same lap then through the second last corner. Once again slow and awkward into that apex, and we have to wait until they climb up the hill to use the ERS, DRS and Rich mix, and then cleanly get past him on the outside right hand side, and we're up into the points paying position now. With also it'll be, I think that's Bottas making a pit stop, so we're up into P9 then, so already 2 points to our name if it were to end like this, but we've got some more overtaking to do potentially. Grosjean now the next one up, he's been overtaken by Hulkenberg, so it was me and Ricciardo making our way through, but now Hulkenberg's my kind of partner in crime here, making our way through the grid very nicely, and we make a lovely little move down the inside of Grosjean there, catch him napping a little bit mid-apex on down the hill, and now up the hill we go, and it's a bit of a drag race here because the Haas, remember, I improved the Haas so much in the last 2 seasons we did with them. They're such a lightweight car, and so Grosjean has the speed to actually try and get the legs on me with DRS for him and not for me. He's actually trying to re-overtake us then, and so Roman giving us the first real big fight then in the grid order, and we have to squeeze him out very harshly in the center S, and we're up the order eventually to P8, but a really nice fight actually there with Grosjean, put up a good one, but eventually we do get that, and now we'll chase after Nico Hulkenberg, who's actually on super softs then, so Hulkenberg's not actually doing a 2-stop, he's not actually doing a 1-stop I should say, he's doing a 2-stop here. So that surprised me actually, because I would have thought where he was in the standings and the race and his situation, I thought it would have been a no-brainer to try the 1-stop. I guess that's the reason why Hulkenberg was able to make some overtakes ahead of me and be my running partner in all of this, because the Renault normally isn't that quick. But as I make those passes, Alonso is going to be coming in for his second stop now of the Grand Prix, finally onto a slower set of soft tyres then, and so now he will go to the end of the Grand Prix, and he's going to come out very, very close to myself actually, as we're going to fight Hulkenberg on the exit of this NRS 2 laps later. This was after I initially made the overtake on Hulkenberg, and like we mentioned, Hulkenberg on faster compounded tyres here, and so even though I have the raw pace in the car, the tyres are helping Hulkenberg make a move here. Around the outside he goes, and he actually dances round and gets the position back then, and so he's up into P6. We're down to P7, and Alonso is going to have a real good chance now, because look how slow HOCKENHEIM goes mid-apex here. Brazil, it's a lot like Mexico in some aspects. Obviously, Sector 2 is very slow, but Sectors 1 and 3, if you are in the slipstream and have DRS, you can overtake any car, no matter how slow you are in the corners of Sector 2. So you can see, even though HOCKENHEIM holds me up in Sector 2, he's actually able to hold his own in Sectors 3 and 1. We saw earlier in the season on the performance chart that the Renault engine in the back of the works car is not too shabby either compared to the McLaren one they've got. So, you know, it's a bit of annoyance here, because he definitely has held us up enough where now Alonso's right on the back of us, and ironically now HOCKENHEIM comes in for a pit stop, and so now I'm left to fend against Alonso. We have DRS for now, but onto the next straight, so I won't have DRS. Alonso will, and we lock up a little bit on the left-hand side. Obviously, my medium tyres, I've been on these for quite some time, so very worn mediums versus fresher soft tyres, and Alonso is going to climb through with DRS open here. Of course, I can't afford to make any contact at this stage of the season and the championship, and so Alonso is clearly past there, and to be fair, I just do not have the grip to actually match him. I try to make a move and re-overtake him to the inside, but he does really well to pinch me right into the apex there, and last minute I just can't make the move, and then he gets away from us, and ultimately, if I tried to hold him up there, I would have literally been a trolley train and a half, to be honest. So fair play, he's the faster car right now, and to be honest, I was never thinking in this race I had a chance to get past Alonso and hold him up. I was really just concentrating on trying to limit the damage to him, essentially, for Abu Dhabi. And so up ahead then, later into this Grand Prix, as we go on through this final stint then for all of us, it's Max Verstappen actually leads the Grand Prix then on the one stop, like I mentioned. Then you've got Sergio Perez in second place, Alonso third, both of them on a two stop, trying to come back through this Grand Prix. Then myself in P4, P5 is Kimi Raikkonen, the lead Ferrari guy, ironically the guy I might be replacing next season, of course, because depending on what Ferrari want to do in Season 4. But here we go now. We've got Sergio Perez making a move on Max Verstappen up into first place. That is for the Mexican, the man who tried to get glory at his home Grand Prix last episode. Didn't quite make it, but this time round he might have some glory here at Sao Paulo, as Verstappen, although the one-stops work well for Verstappen, he just doesn't have enough raw pace to keep it ahead of those cars. And now Alonso will try the same thing on the outside there into turns 1, and he's up into P2. So all order is resumed in terms of those two. Perez first place, Alonso second, and now Verstappen third. We'll try our best to maybe try and catch up to Verstappen in third place, but the gap is quite sizable to the Dutchman, so I don't have any high hopes of getting the third place podium, and I think we might have to settle for P4 and try and see, Raikkonen, there might be a chance he catches us, so we have to watch out for that. But meanwhile, really, what we need to focus on is here, Fernando Alonso chasing after Sergio Perez, because this is a crucial difference of 7 points, remember, from second to first place. And unfortunately for me, Alonso is looking pretty damn rapid here at the last stages of the Grand Prix. He's going to pull out to the inside to make the dive down the inside of turn 1 for the race lead at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Perez tries to defend in the center S. Can he do it? This is effectively him fighting for on my behalf in a way in second place there. He can't pull it through, but he's tucked up right behind the Spaniard, and he comes back through, and Perez will try and get the lead back in the Grand Prix, and yes he will. The speed in a straight line that Force India has helps him through, and he's up back into first place. So a great battle between Alonso and Perez doing me one solid there of getting back into the lead, but it's only a matter of time. I feel that Alonso is looking way too quick for my liking, so here we go once more. I think this is 2 laps later actually. Alonso's been winding up the pace, and so 2 laps later on the outside this time of turn 1. This might be the better option for him to squeeze Perez then out on the left, on the outside there, swings through, and again Perez might have the DRS though, might have the legs on Alonso, but no, Alonso has DRS again, the second bite of the cherry, and this time round to the end of Sector 1, a lovely swooping camera shot there to show us an overtake, and he's up into first place, and Perez down to P2, and that is going to be the end of that. Fernando Alonso up into the lead, and will probably go on and march on for a race victory at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, for myself, in lap 33 with 4 laps to go, including this one, we're P4, like I said. Verstappen too far away from us at this stage of the race, and to be honest, I'm also worried about Raikkonen. I'm looking behind me, I'm trying to save fuel and ERS in Sector 2 by going medium and lean mixture, and then going rich and overtake on the main straight of Sector 1 in Sector 3, as the ERS, you can see on the right hand side, we don't have too much to deploy in this entire race here. But as we go through the Grand Prix, actually, to my surprise, Verstappen starts to slow down a little bit, so I don't know if he had tyre wear or some sort of car issue, but eventually towards the end of the Grand Prix on the last lap, we do start to see him a little bit closer to me visually, but in the end it's going to be, alas, just for nothing really, and he's going to maintain that P3, and more importantly, Fernando Alonso is indeed going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix from Sergio Perez there. We're up in P4 though. It's been a fantastic recovery drive from P20 on the grid last place to 4th place to try and bring down the deficit and the hits that we're going to take on this, and so all in all a good day in the office. I can't really complain.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So it's a 4th win in the last 5 races for Fernando Alonso. GG's, fair play, and we get into 4th place though, so we get 12 points to his 25, so that is going to try and cushion the blow of him getting that win and where we were obviously at the start of the Grand Prix. So going into then the final race of the season, next episode, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we will be 8 points ahead of Alonso. So there's a lot of permutations, which I'm sure, every single time some lovely people in the comments like to read out and write down the permutations of what the finale could be, and there's definitely a couple there. It's going to be a very interesting time at Abu Dhabi. Of course, the Constructors is wrapped up, so it doesn't really matter. Although, talk about the Constructors, Sauber outscored Mercedes there, and so Mercedes are now officially in the last 2 positions. They're in the bottom 2 of the actual Constructors Championship table. That is absolutely amazing, and so how mighty the reigning world champions of Season 1 have fallen in just 2 seasons' time. But let's go to the interviews then with Claire to round out the episode.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. You really cut your way through the field today. What was your strategy?
Obviously, the car was performing really well to cut through from P20 to P4. Got to compliment the chassis for that nimbleness.
It looks like your rival is schooling you a bit.
Now, I took some offence to this because I don't feel he's been completely schooling me. I mean, I've had a few on him and I've been the way more consistent driver, but I had to say fair play. Every driver has a different driving style that you can learn from, so I went with the more sportsmanship-like kind of answer, I feel.
You left a lot of paint on the walls today. Were you struggling for grip, or did you just misjudge some corners?
And then obviously there's a few bumps and grazes there, obviously trying to get through the traffic. I'm just going to go with the no comment there on the damage front. Don't want to kind of blame anyone in that kind of aspect.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so that is the end of the episode then, guys, and we set up a very interesting finale at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. 8 points separates myself and my teammate Fernando Alonso from the World Championship in Season 3. Of course, myself being the reigning World Champion from Season 2, and Alonso being a 2-time World Champion. So, guys, if you did enjoy this episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around to get subscribed for weekly full-on content, and more importantly, for tomorrow's finale episode at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That is how the entire season looks so far, and so it's time to go out for one final time. McLaren v McLaren, Alonso v aarava. Let's do this thing tomorrow. Until then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.